Right, so then we still have that.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm not. We not one that I don't.
Say that. These are, these are, it works, it works. That's what I'm talking about.
Council meeting order for Monday, July 28th, roll call please.
Councilor Grams,
Here.
Darla, here, Beckman,
Here.
Mayor Scott, here, and then Madison is absent.
Thank you. All right, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the consent agenda, has everybody had a chance to read through that? Anybody have any sort of questions or comments regarding anything in the consent agenda? Hearing nothing, I'll ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda as is.
I'll make that motion.
Also from Councilor Graham, second from Councilor Jarla, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to the guests and citizens forum, does anybody have anything to say or any questions or anything? Hearing none, we will keep moving. Report from staff, City Administrator Wyberg.
I guess we're gonna get to it later, but there's a couple, like a clerk's boot camp training coming up, there's some money in the budget, so I felt like, and then full time. I should probably go to that clerk's training, it's 2 days down in Stillwater. And then there's also a civic symposium coming up as well, so there's a couple of training sessions that should benefit, attending. We can talk a little bit more, and we did receive the funding, full funding for the, 65, so that's good. And Jake's been talking, that's very good for the months.
All right, moving on to City Administrator.
I don't have anything at this point, Mayor.
Sounds good, thank you. Moving on to reports from elected officials, Councilor Grants.
Only thing to report is water carnival is over. It was a long week getting ready, but I think it was successful, some, a lot of good comments and feedback. That everyone had a good time, and I think overall, as far as the police and there wasn't much action, it was pretty low key, we didn't know what to expect with that many people in town and. But yeah, it went good.
Thank you. Councilor Jarla.
Don't have a lot here. I was at the East Range Joint Powers Board. Like I mentioned before the meeting, the City of Wabac Mayor talked about the excitement, the completion of the Saga Trail bike path into Wabac has created. He said they've seen a lot of bikers coming in town, businesses are getting extra customers. And they also talked about the housing end of things, and the East Range Joint Water Project. They passed a photo, I'll pass it down. It shows the intake on the top photo, the caisson, and that apparently is full of water. I don't know from the storms or what, but they were getting to the process of pumping it out to start boring out into the lake to put their intake in. The other one is the picture of the water plant in Aurora. They're close, the tanks are close to being completed. Next step up is the walls, and then hopefully the roof on top of that. They said they're doing pretty good with that. That's about all I got.
All right, good. Thank you, Councilor Ekman.
I just want to thank the Water Carnival Committee and stuff for doing a great job and planning a great weekend. The police, EMS, everybody that was volunteers, everybody that was a part of it, did a great job.
I'd like to add, if I may, something to what Jill had said.
Yeah.
Our city public works did an excellent job of cleaning up again, like they normally do every year. It's amazing to wake up in the morning and see the town cleaned up. That's a very nice thing to happen. So they deserve an extra applause for their.
Yes, thank you. Anything else to add, Councilor Ekman?
No, the arts and crafts is gonna be done this week.
Oh, geez.
You were too happy with that.
It's fun, and I'm glad it's over.
Right. All right, yeah. thanks, Counselor Ekman. On my end, yeah, I did look to what, Counselor Ekman and Jarva, had to say. Thank you to the Water Renewal Committee, all the city staff, and then all volunteers that, made it happen. Happy to hear that it's on the, pretty busy and pretty successful, so thank you to everyone involved. Moving on to old business, First National Bank of Gilbert, presenting their member impact fund grant award. They came in with a big check and we had taken photos earlier, but we have a match from the bank just to kind of speak to, that grant award. Yeah, it's not on, so we can just.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for making some time for me this afternoon. And congrats on the Water Renewal 70 years. It's having a meeting on the day after, pretty impressive too, so well done. But just a quick story on this member impact fund. We are a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines. It's a member-owned bank that, starting in 2023, came back with a member impact fund that returns some of their profits to their members. And kind of a new program. And new to me, it came out, I think, on April 7th, and I was in the heat of income tax season, and the next thing I know, May 7th was the deadline. And I think I talked to Sherry about this whole kind of opportunity we could do to use this program, which was if our bank contributed $1, they would match up to $3. And at our board meetings in April and May at the bank, we just started talking like this is maybe once in a career opportunity for us to really invest in our communities and our partnerships that which we have with the city and all along East Range, starting in Gilbert. So we went over some priorities back in May and we said, hey, this is our donation of 12,500 turned into 50, just kind of like that. And almost probably back to the PPP applications and all this, it just seemed too good to be true, right? I mean, doing these at the bank, and so we ended up donating through this program a total of 550,000, and most of that starting in Gilbert towards the East Range, which I'm very proud of for our small bank in Main Street, Gilbert. So that check is yours to keep. If you have any questions for me, but we sure appreciate the work you do in our communities, and hopefully 50. Jake doesn't spend it all on all these projects are expensive, so thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Matt.
yeah, thank you. We are very appreciative of, the generosity.
So this is yours, by the way, I forgot to give that to you. Give that to Sherry.
Thanks.
Great, Sherry. Yeah, and 2018 on the check number is the year that we acquired the former Wells Fargo building and started, so got a little bit of a history in all in the check, so thank you again.
Yes, thank you, man. Yeah, you're free to stay if you'd like, if you want to hit
Okay.
the road,
No.
you're free to go too.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Matt.
Thank you.
So moving on to new business, so this is kind of what Dean was speaking to a little bit, before, maybe not. The civics annual symposium in September, so this is different from that first academy mentioned, but do you mind speaking a little bit to, the symposium?
Yeah, so that's coming up in September. I don't know if we'll be able to attend it or not, but it's user symposium. Whereas civics is the system we use for all of our financial tracking, accounting, and utility bills. So they do an annual symposium this year. It's in Wisconsin Dells, I guess. So but so probably need approval to go on that. These are both within budget. So there's any brand travel hardly on this year. But the other one, the 2025 Clerks Academy, I think is important, for me to attend, it's September, same time as the symposium, that's why I can't do both, either one's in Rose or one on the 12th, and or one's on the 4th to the 5th. So that's a 2-day workshop, as well as like, some pre-courses that I have to take prior, and like, it's put on by the League of Minnesota Cities, and like the dollar amount and $50. 2 days, and then plus the lodging.
Are you looking at the Roseville session or the?
One of the other staples of those here. I think Tammy and Betsy both participated in that one.
So the first piece of that symposium, is that something that you would just be looking at?
That one, yeah, that just,
And that's
and, yeah, they both just meet.
Oh,
Yeah, Tammy and Betsy have already gone through, most people have already gone through the first.
so is it, you'd have to go to this 8th and 9th one, and then the 11th and 12th one, or just the 8th and 9th, or just the 11th and 12th?
Originally, I was gonna try to do both, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. Yeah, well, for sure that the clerks, get that, if you go to. Anybody else, nobody will.
And then you said this is something that's already budgeted for.
It is, everybody for traveling and training.
Joel, if it's within the budgeting of what was already approved, is that something that the council has to approve with a motion or?
Say that again.
So it sounds like we already have a budget set for, training, travel, and things like that. Do we need to approve, these specific things if it's already kind of budgeted for? Or?
Yeah, there's no harm in doing that, it's just ratifying the use of that, budget.
So we'll look at the symposium piece of it first, so 11.1. Is there anybody that would like to make a motion? If Dean is able to attend both of them or just one of them?
When you say both, you're talking both
So,
dates
well,
of Symphony?
Yeah, well, so it looks like there's
The
like,
clerks,
there's new user sections and then it looks like there's ones that you go to in person.
They're both in person.
Oh, to be in person.
Yeah, they're both in person.
You missed one? The one that was virtual only?
Yeah, we'll do the virtual, it's two different groups.
Okay, so you're just looking at 11th and 12th.
Yeah, in
Like
person, if I can make them.
So is there anybody that would like to make a motion for approval for Dean to go to that civics symposium?
I'd make that motion.
Motion from Councilor Grams, anybody that would like to second or support that?
I'll second that, so you're going to the symposium and not the clerks academy?
No, I would try to do both, but I don't know if I can get it scheduled out, because they're on the same day, that second one.
The second one is from 11 to 12, and this other one is from 9th, or no, 11 to 12, yeah.
Yeah, he's looking at the 11th and 12th on 11.1. He's looking
Okay.
at going to the person on 11th and 12th.
And then the clerk's academy is a different flyer, so that's
Yeah, they've got the 11th to 12th, but also the
right, so if I end up going to Roseville, I won't go to symposium. But if I go to Staples, then I'll be able to attend both.
So is there anybody that'd like a second or?
I will.
Okay, so Councilor Jarvis, seconds that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. And then looking at the clerks academy, which you also kind of touched on, is there anybody that'd like to, so this is the one important one that we feels that.
I make that motion.
Okay, motion from Councilor Jarvis, anybody that'd like to second or support that?
I'll second.
We have a second from Councilor Ekman, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.3, Max Gray Wellness Center, pay application number 10. For $603,859.71. Do you mind speaking a little bit to this, Dean?
Well, I picked up from the other night, you know, so. Where we're at with the arena, so the boards are not here yet, we're talking about August, parking lots. They're already to punch a hole through the wall, bring the refrigerant in. We're still looking at October before they turn that system on, parking lot's gonna be starting. In the next couple of weeks, I believe, and then the outside work, so it's still moving along, there's only a couple people that are working on a project right now, so it's still moving outside, the dirt work, and then the boards aren't here, the bleachers aren't here. But, all the mechanical room is really, pretty much close to that, so.
The parking lot to be an overlay or a complete replacement?
Complete replacement.
They're gonna dig everything up and,
How far back are they? I think it's the current footprint.
okay. They're gonna cover the gravel with pavement, or are they gonna, just to the current pavement
I
line?
think it's just, I'm pretty sure it's just the current thing.
Okay.
I know previously you talked about the finances of kind of waiting for some of those grant dollars.
We're still waiting for the call them last Friday, it's an examiner's desk, and we got a big file, so. Yeah, so if you do approve this tonight, we'll probably have a couple more conversation before we cut a check. So, I mean, we're okay, I mean,
as long as we have funds to pay it.
Yeah, so that's getting held with the county for that declaration I talked about last week, and it's still in the county's hands, and once I get that, then I can submit all the stuff to the state, so we get reimbursement coming for their portion of the project. Our portion, we used up all our funds, our portion of the project, technically.
So when would they, I mean, if you don't know, that's okay, do you know when they would need the money by if we approved it?
There is a August 7th date on there, no, that's only 7:30 weeks. We're in that 30, so it'll be August 9th.
Right. Yes, yeah, that's my only concern is that, yeah,
We can wait wait till the next meeting on this, if we don't, then
yeah, you can kind of get on that kind about it. Just because that's just my concerns that we get that.
Yeah.
The funds to pay it.
it looked like we may table it to the 11th. Then all up there, or by then we should have cleared the picture.
Anybody else on the council have any other different feelings than I do, or any, thing to add or questions, or? I just think it would be smart way. Yeah.
Actual forms.
Right. Are you kind of thinking the same, Sherry? or-
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, we'll table that for next meeting, and then if you were, you could say, hey, county, you know, talk about a little bit. That would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you've already done it.
Yeah, actually, that's a, shoulder involved too.
So yeah, thank you for, yeah, what you're doing, but yeah, we'll wait on that just to make sure that.
Okay.
Hopefully it
I
doesn't.
would agree with you.
Okay. So moving to 11:24 utilities request for 219 township. Everybody got the letter in their packets. Any additional information or anything?
I want to be more than 11.
How far back does this go? I mean, it says there. When's the last?
Similar to the last one, they should have printed out, maybe grab it.
I went in and talked to Sharon or, and Betsy and Tammy today. And they told me it was $2,700. I was talking to Joel before the meeting started. Asking him if there was something the city could do, like a mechanic, something like a mechanic's lien. And he said he would explain that during the meeting, so.
Yeah, so my recommendation, a mechanics lien on, we have an option to certify. Those utility charges against the taxes on the property. But what they're requesting is that it get turned on for the purpose of getting it sold. My recommendation would be to have a written agreement for turning that back on, where they would agree to pay the full amount of the back utilities as well as any ongoing utilities from turning it on out of the closing. So right now, the property is the one that we have the agreement with, where the amount is back. But they would sign personally as well as representatives of the state or the individual that owns that property. And because they would sign that, so they would sign that agreement as the representative of the estate, binding the estate through the proceeds of the closing to pay that, if the council wants to go that way. And I can, I actually started a draft of that document of what that might look like for them to sign on behalf of the estate. And then the follow-up question is then, well, what if it doesn't sell? Well, then it's still accessible against property. That would also be beneficial because it would be accessible against any sale that they are able to get. So if they get a sale and it falls through and they get someone else to buy it, then it would still be accessible against that because it's the estate that would be bound and not the buyers. If we assess it against the property, then the buyer steps in and they have that outstanding as an assessment against the property that they would pay out of the purchase. So it's a way of getting them back on so that they can try to get it sold. If you have any further questions, maybe I can answer those specifically.
It's a scary topic, because if they, like you said, if they do back out. They can still do it, but what we've done with the others, like this last one, we talked about a portion being paid as a down payment. If we do what Joel was saying, I think we should have that So we get something out of it, whether it's $1,000 or $500 or whatever. Because of the large amount owed, they should pay something down. If they wanna go on a payment plan like this, where they agree to do it. As long as,
So yeah, and I guess to clarify, it would not be a payment plan, it would be different from that.
Yeah.
In that regards, they're entering into a new agreement to pay the full amount out of the closing proceeds.
Yeah.
The point is they don't have the money now, and it wouldn't be extending the payment plan over time. It would be allowing them to
a
turn.
long lump sum.
Yes, and it would be paid, so the title company out of the closing would receive an invoice from the city pursuant to that agreement, because the title company would have that agreement. And they would pay us like a creditor out of the proceeds from a sale, so that would come directly to the city.
Who would provide that? To
The title company,
No, to the title company.
the invoice, the city.
Okay. So they would have to be,
Yeah, so we would enter a signed agreement with the seller, which is the representative of the state. I think they've been appointed as a special administrator for being able to do this kind of thing. Based on their representations and all that. They would sign an agreement with the city to pay the full amount out of the closing of the sale of the property.
how legally binding is that?
It would be entirely legal money. Because
Because they could,
they wouldn't have control over it, because the title company would have to honor that agreement and pay us out of closing. Because they're gonna be they would be handling the transaction closing, and they would pay the city out of that closing. Before they would cut the proceeds to the estate. And if they didn't, we still assess it against the property.
and then the buyer has to pay.
Yeah, I think, I do understand the agreement we're discussing, and that does sound. I think I would be in favor of looking at that, just being that it's an estate, these people weren't living in that property, you know, due to the death in the family, and they inherited. This situation that wasn't of their making, so I'd be in favor of, working out some kind of plan, especially when it's run through the title company, it's not on their honor that they'll give us a check. It's a legal agreement, so. I'd be in favor of drafting up something.
Is there any other discussion regarding that? Any question for Joel?
Did these utility bills, I mean, cause I think he was on a nursing home for a while. Before, I mean, did they just not shut off the water and the utilities and
It's not that it's water use, it's
it's everything?
the connection fee and then they'll fines and whatnot.
If there's no payment plan, you get the fines and
Yeah,
penalties all.
penalties and
on top.
everything, it's just like back taxes on property, it just keeps accruing, and it becomes a steamroller. But it's just like the others we dealt with, where they're not paid.
Yeah.
And
I haven't heard
then,
back from them either.
and then, what's that,
I've not heard anything back from them either, as a sign one.
from
The other
the
ones.
people?
No, from the other.
Oh, the other ones.
But this situation seems different, as there was a death of.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, they
That
were
was
strange,
dead.
but they didn't even know about it, you know, they just inherited this through probate, you know, so I feel like it's different than someone living there.
It's different, but we gotta make sure we are protected. Cause otherwise you and Brennan and
Yeah,
Jill and I, everybody ends up losing, we pay for that.
and it sounds like, if we have to sign this agreement, due at closing,
Yeah,
they,
so
the
that's-
control is out of their hands now, it's coming to us upon sale.
Yeah, I think that's a smart workaround rather than not getting sort
Like you said, if they never sell it, can only be put on their tax,
Right.
assessed to their taxes.
of. So are we looking for, since we don't have the agreement in front of us, Joel, just getting a motion tonight just to, direct you or give you the go ahead to finalize that draft?
Correct, yeah, I work with city administration to get that drafted, and then we get that in front of you for approval. And we would also be in contact with the representatives of the estate to see if that's something that they would be agreeable to do, and then if you put back on the agenda for your approval, you'd have that agreement.
Perfect. So yeah, looking for a motion to, for city attorney Lewicki to coordinate with city staff / city administration. To finalize that drafting and then coordinating with the appropriate entities to see if everyone would be, in favor of going through with that, so. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Counselor Ekman, anybody that'd like to second support that?
Yeah, I'd support that.
We have support from Counselor Grams, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to 11.5. North Shore Development Company Memorandum of Understanding, and then there's a sample resolution of support attached to that. Sounded like this was something that was discussed at the East Range Joint Powers Board. So Dean doesn't have a whole lot of information. So do you remember this being talked about?
Something about wasn't this a no cost type of deal for the city?
Yeah, it's part of it, you're already involved in the joint powers board, so it's nothing, there's no cost to it, it's just a grant for this gentleman from North Shore Development to work with their housing committee. Under the East Range Joint Powers Board, we have a separate housing committee. To enter into agreement to work on behalf of all 4 communities, at no extra cost, there's no additional.
Yeah, if I remember, did Biologic was doing this resolution and.
Yeah,
Aurora.
Tom Rice has already been turned in, Biologics has been turned in, and Aurora is working on it, because their HRA also was looking at applying with the same company, so they had to talk about it still.
Are they looking at doing it for the new addition they've got going on the west end of town then, or?
No, the housing committee under the joint powers board isn't specifically involved in that, we're just housing for all 4 communities. We work with the developer and now this independent contractor, he's gonna like lobbying efforts and looking at funding and coming up with engineering plans, and so it's open to all 4 communities, it's not specifically towards Aurora.
So when like the whole school gets torn down, would that be something that they?
Yeah. That's exactly one of the sites we have on our list, is if we ever have, the city ever gets control of the whole school, like that'd be a great site, there's some land available that the EDA owns out on the townhomes.
Hmm.
So there's lots out there that are for sale, that could possibly be an area where a developer might come in and build. Whether it's patio homes or townhomes, senior living, rentals, just, whatever it's zoned for, so it's not area specific, it's to look at all the possible development places.
Yeah, housing is definitely needed, across and East Iron, but everywhere. And it sounds like the other cities, most of them, the majority have already done it, cities slash towns. And then nothing that we're paying directly, at no cost, to anybody. But going through the Eastern Shore Power Park, it sounds like they'll probably be getting some.
Have they gotten money for these other municipalities? Have they delivered any funds from this grant to?
No, this gentleman from the North Shore Development Company is applied for the grant through the Northland Foundation. And so he has the money. Now we just want to use him. He applied on behalf of the Joint Powers Board to get the grant. So he has the funding, but he just needs all 4 communities to actually sign the resolution saying, yes, we want to work with you. Just one of the particulars of the grant process, it has to be something in the file, the resolution approved by each. Yeah, it's one more step. So he has applied for the funding and received the funding already upon the signing of all these.
What do you say, he has applied, that's in the name of the Joint Powers Board?
It's the North Shore Development
North Shore
Company,
Development.
yeah, his name's Jason Hale.
Any other conversation or questions regarding any of this? Hearing now, I'll ask for a motion to approve the signing of the memorandum of understanding along with that sample resolution of support for this project.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Councilor Ekman, seconded by Councilor Jarva. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried. Moving on to 11.6, Westover Street reconstruction advertisement to bid. Jake's here for that.
That's good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
So I wanted to provide you with a couple quick updates on the Westover reconstruction project. So this is a project that we started earlier this year, preparing plans and specifications for reconstruction of Westover. We have completed the construction plans and specifications, so we do have them. So it's at a point here where the city could look to advertise this project if it deemed that the project was fiscally able to. Or look at maybe talking about some funding opportunities that we see maybe for this project, looking at maybe a 2026 construction timetable. So in front of you, like I said, this is the advertisement for bids. This is typically what we put together, and we use Quest CD, which is an online bidding program, publicly based. Along with, we have some information provided in local resources like local papers to notify the general public that there is a bid available to complete the work. In the advertisement for bid, we typically have a description of the work, so it provides the amount of municipal utilities that are being replaced, streets, reconstruction, anything from Common X to even the size of the line. We typically detail out the completion dates, start dates, provide all that information along with the bidding period. Typically with a bid of this nature and this size, we require a bid bond for protection of the city. So there would be a 5% bid bond applied to your total bid so that you don't have somebody back out of the bid in case the contract's awarded. So overall, I think we're kind of at a point here where the city could elect to bid this project. And Dean, I apologize, I was meaning to call you earlier today.
That's all right.
You probably saw the parental calls, because we did have a couple meetings today and I talked with Corinne and our team on funding for LRIP. And initially we were recommending that you would just bid this project. Earlier this year, we were talking about trying to get it done if possible. But after further discussion with Dean on just some of the finances, along with possibly looking at for some grant options, we are actually changing our recommendation to just a bid it in 2026. We think this project would be a strong contender for an LRIP grant. And so what an LRIP is, that's through MnDOT. It's a road rehabilitation program that typically you see established between two like county infrastructure roads. Or state roads. And so in this case, it's right, Westover is right between 110 and 665. And those LRIP grants, a lot of times they like to target commercial districts. That's your commercial district. So overall, with the fact that there was a FEMA application put in and that application seems to be going in a direction of denial. We feel that there is a opportunity to build with this application, say there was an emergency. This is serving a commercial area between two states and local, organizational roads being the county road projects, and see if that grant application would be successful, opposing to bid the project. And so what that process is November applications are due. Our team would be able to help out with the application, and what we're looking at doing and we'd like to recommend in the near future is through the League of Minnesota Cities, there is a grant to write grants. We would, on your behalf, solicit that to write the grant, and then we would write the LRIP grant under that grant. So we're looking to try to do a minimal cost to the city through that by just leveraging available resources. And so like I said, so I think originally we were gonna recommend just to bid the project and see how it goes, if we get fit in this year, but at this point, the other factor is with contractor availability. We do keep a pulse on construction projects in the area. And we did kind of notice that there's a lot of work going on, a lot of projects hit the market. So the bid might not be the best bid you can actually get, even though you have a local contractor. And so I think waiting to work close this out and maybe start a bidding process in the March of 2026 when there's nothing on the books for contractors actually might be better than trying to use, even though you have a contractor in town. They are actually widespread across several communities. So all things being said and weighed equal, you might have a better bid next spring in light of where things are at this season. So I was coming here to say that here's an advertisement for bid. We can push this through, but I apologize. I know I'm changing my recommendation on the whim here, but we want to provide the best advice we can with the information that we now have.
So why would, I guess, Jake, knowing that they still have to do 665, wouldn't it be cheaper to do it now than wait till it's been resurfaced and then have to dig it all up again?
Are you talking about specifically between Westover, like on?
Across Westover and head north with that sewer line to run that into.
Sure.
Going.
So the current project for 665 is gonna take the utilities into Westover approximately, I think it's like 20-30 feet. So we do have, all work for these current projects on 110 and 665 are out of the intersections. So you do have a fairly clean starting point along Westover where they would pick up at that point without having to touch 665, so.
So I mean, yeah, all that makes sense to me with pulling off until you can hopefully get some different funding, grant money to do the project, so I guess that makes sense to me, I'm holding off. Does anybody have any other questions or comments, for Jake or just comments in general?
Were there any preliminary bids done in the initial processing of this and this was applied to for FEMA? Do I have an idea
Yes.
what the estimated costs were as opposed to, I mean, in another 6 months, costs are gonna go up,
Correct.
no doubt about that.
Correct. So overall, we have done some preliminary engineering, and once we get through design, we do dial that number in. And so like, I think we initially started with FEMA estimates, if you'd like me to share them, I can share those estimates here. We were looking at like 1.6 or 1.7 with FEMA to do the whole project, and that's to do, and with FEMA, I'll take a step back and say that they were gonna do a portion of the project. Only the storm sewer was eligible, so overall, it's gonna be a 1.7 million dollar project. And then the FEMA portion would have been approximately, I don't have the number in front of me, but it was around $1 million, just to do the storm sewer, the road restoration, excavation. You could not cover, FEMA funds would not cover the water main and sanitary sewer, since those weren't.
I get that, yeah.
So you're looking at about 1.6. We estimate, currently with the improvements in the station, now that we got to dial in design, you're looking at roughly 1.3 to do the full project.
For 26.
For 26, correct. So if you, for example, if you went for an LRIP grant, you could potentially get $1 million, the grant cap's around $1 million. So you would go for that $1 million, and if you could find additional funding sources such as IRRB or other strategic partners, CBDG money potentially, that would also be through the county programs. We think that you could reduce that funding gap down to where you have the whole project covered, so.
We had talked about it,
Yeah, so we're waiting for some numbers from Jake, but almost like for an IRRB grant for, and maybe a little more specific to like the dump station improvement or something, that portion of the project, because 250 doesn't go very far. That would probably will come to that portion, right? And they're pretty supportive, and they sent us an email right away after we came back to make sure we get that grant application in as soon as possible. And then that's also all this time for other funding too, and FEMA's is currently they declined us, but they're we have the right to appeal. There's 2 levels of appeals, and I just got those forms Friday or this morning. Yeah, filing an appeal with FEMA, and then we reach out to local legislators. And
I saw the thing with the Publisher's office.
yeah,
It doesn't hurt. I understand it, but do they have any idea that they can help on something like that?
the IRRB recommended.
Yeah.
Reach out to them. So it sounds like in the past, they probably sold some strings.
Well, Scott's office got back to me twice, and Mickey from Washington DC, he's putting some pressure on him, and we're at the process of determination letters out. So if you want to pursue some more final appeal, and we need to put some more pressure on it. I think we have a good case for the portion that at least still has.
But I would agree. I think it would be wise just to proceed, if you can at least get those costs, you might be looking at, 10,
65, or what are the 6 grams of $1,000 probably.
That's something we won't have to pay for.
correct.
Yeah. So I was planning on bringing that to the next council meeting in the appeal process.
So for tonight, not going ahead with the advertisement today.
But we talked to IRRB, and I talked to Shannon Sweeney, who's on Jake too, and both Shannon Sweeney and IRRR recommend that we go through this process to get that much closer. Because he says, gives you one more step ahead when you're looking for funding.
Well, as long as what Jake says, if they're going to complete the piece under the intersection there and extend it out even 20 or 30 feet, so when it's done, it doesn't have to dig up 665 in the intersection again. That's, I think, a tolerable decision, especially if we're saving some money.
Right, because I think ultimately it removes the potential if this project goes this year and the city of White Lakes has to furnish, several hundreds of thousands of dollars to do the work versus if we can get some funding sources to play, to kind of come into the game to really knock that down. I think Dave is gonna be less than if we had a really good bid from the local contractor right now, so it would likely be less cost to the city.
Can we hold you to that?
I would love to say.
It's not,
I'm sure there's a clause somewhere in the paper.
What he said.
And what was your estimate that you said this would cost the city to just go through the bid process?
1.3.
No, to actually go for bids for.
Oh, I see, I apologize.
It
Yeah,
is.
But, yeah, it's probably a day of my staff's time, so we're talking $1,000, $2,000, and then there's just the postings, right? So how we would finish the bids is once this advertisement goes out, our admin staff and our engineers, we would work the process. A lot of times there's phone calls and contractors reach out to us, so we field all that information to make sure that the bids are equitable. And then at the end of it, there is some cost in advertisement, so you would save a couple $1,000 just by waiting, very likely to the end, if you bid it, or we would just hold this time and we could build everything and then have it ready to be bid in March, say, for example. One thing that's really good, I wanted to comment on, and I apologize, I forgot, it's saying that it's complete, is this project is ready to go. And like, that's excellent, and that's, we're a really good place to be at when you're going to funding sources. This is something you can take to IRRB. I'll provide all the plan sets and documentations directly to Dean, and this stuff can get delivered. And it really helps with funding sources, showing the commitment level, because the city has put up the funds and energy to get the project ready. So it's no pie in the sky, this is ready to go.
And this will cover everything from the water line up to the fire hydrant and what they talked about. Just past that to the gas station.
Correct, yeah, so this would be, and I did bring some plan sets if anybody was interested.
Jake had given them,
Okay.
Jake Barrett had given everybody copies of what was on it.
Yep, so this covers, basically you would have new 48-inch concrete storm sewer, you're gonna have brand new sanitary 8-inch sewer down the alley to your connecting businesses, and you'll have new water main that's looped down Westover, and V6 and 8-inch, so. Along with new service connections to residents and some additional drainage work, along with a new RV dump station on the east side by the ball fields.
Any other questions for Jake or any other comments in general? Not hearing anything, if I heard this incorrectly, please correct me, Jake. But looking for like a motion to deny the bidding at this time, but directing staff to coordinate with, the Pullman Mink staff to, pursue funding and then possible bidding in the future then.
There's so moved.
Oh, no, that was just kind of, it was more of a question.
Oh.
It was odd, yeah.
I thought you said.
No, you're okay.
So what we can do, if this works for you, is we'll formulate an email that we can get to Dean that provides the steps to acquire the League of Minnesota City a grant. That would be something that Dean would have to initiate through the city, but we typically try to make a painless, I want to say it this way. Because sometimes navigating their sites a little bit, so we give some breakdowns and instructions, and you can kind of see if you guys get the grant. And then once you get the grant, then you'll be able to kind of write the grant on that.
For that LRIP grant.
What was it, LRIP stand for?
Still those days right
Local
here.
road.
Local road improvement program. Thank you. I say the first one, so.
Okay. So yeah, so motion to deny the bid at this time, but directing city staff to coordinate with Pullman Mink staff to pursue funding and possible bidding in the future. And kind of with that, just being coordinated with them, to kind of go through the Minnesota cities to do that. The grant for grants, whatever sort of, wording they officially put on it. And then if that gets approved, going through with that, to, if it gets a money from the city. Looking for a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
There we go. Carried. Motion from Council Graham, seconded by Council Ekman, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. That was it for agenda items, so, moving towards adjournment, anybody make a motion for that?
So,
Motion from Council Jarvis, anybody that would like to second or support that?
No second.
Second from Council Graham, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. All right, that is it. Thank you.